Pleasant morning to one and all. So today we are going to see about the prehistoric cultures in India. So how prehistoric culture prevailed in India and how the archaeologists excavated through the archaeological remains to study the history of past cultures. And historically speaking, the timeline of India can be classified into various types, that is prehistory, proto-history and history. Regarding prehistory, there are no written records to study the prehistoric cultures in India. Only through the archaeological remains, the archaeologists have excavated various material remains or artifacts to study the history of the past cultures in India. And regarding the prehistoric cultures, there are various different cultures are classified into different types and its complementary or supplementary periods. For example, Paleolithic, Neolithic, Mesolithic, Chalcolithic, Copper Age, Iron Age. So these are the prehistoric cultures. And regarding the proto-historic period, and in prehistoric period there are no written records and documents at all. Only in proto-historic period the documents have been traced from the paintings, cave paintings and scripts in caves, in stones, etc. And regarding the historic period only, we have evidences through the written records and people have started to record the events or documents and they preserve the documents, and from this time onwards history has been recorded very authentically. So, in the historic period it starts only after the people have known to write, started to write, that is known as historic period. So, these are the different types of period timeline to study the history of India. In this module we are going to see about the prehistory and proto-history and the learning objectives of prehistory and proto-history. So the important learning objectives of prehistory are to paraphrase the achievements of man in the lithic ages. Lithic ages we already know the three types of lithic ages: Paleolithic, Neolithic and Mesolithic, and to identify the past with the implements used by men, to explain the lifestyle of the people in prehistoric period, to develop the culture of society through material remains excavated at the archaeological sites. So these are the excavations objectives for to study the history of past cultures. So here we are seeing the prehistoric time, how the primitive man, he is having an animal in his hand and he is cutting, another man is cutting in the stone, but through the stone implements. So these are the images that have been given to study the history of the past. So the term prehistory refers to a time frame before we began to write, that we have already seen in the introduction. Because of this there is no written proof of its existence. The prehistoric cultures in India is studied through existing artworks, pottery tools and other physical things found at archaeological sites. There are three ages in total, namely Stone Age, Bronze or Copper Age and Iron Age. The Stone Age was 2.6 million ago and lasted till 3300 BC. The Bronze and Iron Age eventually followed. So historically speaking, the Paleolithic age or prehistoric cultures in India have been divided into various types like this. And first one is Paleolithic period, and Paleolithic period it began 2 million years ago and it ended up to 10,000 BC. So its period was from 2 million BC to 10,000 BC. And next one, Mesolithic period. It has started from 10,000 BC to 8,000 BC. Neolithic period, it started from 8,000 BC to 4,000 BC. And Chalcolithic period 4000 BC to 1500 BC, and after that Iron Age follows 1500 BC to 600 BC. So here we have seen some images of the primitive man, how he lives in the cave and how he uses the stone implements by cutting the rocks, and the another one is the pictographical, that is pictographical painting drawn on the caves, interior of the caves, and the next figure is the dolmens, that is the megalithic burial. So during this period the people have been buried through this pattern. So there are various types of burial systems in India, and one of them is the megalithic burial. So this is the megalithic burial have been variously known as schist, dolmens, etc. So this is a type of monolithic burial. And another one, stone implements. See how the stones have been sharply used by the primitive people. And another is also a script or a pictographical writing in the walls of the caves. So these are the images that have been witnessing the styles of the people who lived in the prehistoric period. Prehistoric cultures in India has 5 parts. That is Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period, Neolithic period, Chalcolithic period and Iron Age. So the first 3 are the parts of the stone, while Chalcolithic is another name for the Bronze Age. These periods are the first part of ancient Indian history. Let's take a look at the distinctive features of each of this division to understand the Indian history better. So here we have given the prehistoric cultures in India, and here is the timeline given when the Paleolithic age began 2 million BC to 10,000 and Mesolithic 10,000 to 8,000, that we have already seen in the previous slide. Neolithic age 8,000 BC to 4,000 and 4,000 BC to 1,500 BC Chalcolithic age. So Iron Age 1,500 to 600 BC. So these slides have been to remember. So history students should remember the timeline of the timeline of the sources or to study the history of India. And Paleolithic period 2 million BC to 10,000 BC, and this was the earliest period of human evolution in India. So man has first evolved during this period only, so Paleolithic period, and during this period the man was a hunter at this age. So he only knows how to hunt and eat. They were dependent on hunting to fill their stomachs. So the diet or the menu was only the animals, nuts, dry fruits, etc. So they used sharp tools to hunt and for other activities as well, and agriculture was not a part of this age. So agriculture later prevailed in the Neolithic period. So during the Paleolithic period only hunting was known to the prehistoric people. So a man was a hunter and food gatherer in this period during the Paleolithic period, and archaeologists suggest that humans lived in caves, ate roots and fruits and hunted. So the only occupation known to them was only hunting. It's a part of a stone age and is further divided into 3 parts. So the Paleolithic age has been further divided into 3 types: the lower Paleolithic, the middle Paleolithic period and the upper Paleolithic period. Lower Paleolithic period, it starts up to, it witnessed up to 10,000 BC. So a best example is Bori in Maharashtra. A culture prevailed in Maharashtra in Bori. It is the earliest lower Paleolithic site in India, and their habitat was mainly caves and rock shelters, not a house and not a thatched roof, etc. So Bhimbetka rock shelters in Madhya Pradesh is a prominent example of their habitat. It's the best example, Bhimbetka rock shelters, and the Bhimbetka rock shelters in Madhya Pradesh consist of various forms of paintings, cave paintings. It became a World Heritage Site in 2003. And another important feature is that they lived near water bodies as the stone was accessible there. Mainly the civilizations or cultures, they prevailed on the river banks. So the people want to have water for irrigation and for their domestic use. So the cultures and the civilizations, they prevailed across the river banks. Most of their hunting tools like axes made of limestone and used for skinning, digging and cutting of animals. So the only implements or tools they used were axes like implements made of limestone, etc. So they have not used even a refined form of tools or implements. Even they don't know to sharp or to polish their implements. And next, regarding the middle Paleolithic age, it starts from 1 lakh BC to 40,000 BC, And some of the important lower Paleolithic sites found in India are Belan Valley of Mirzapur, Didwana in Rajasthan, Narmada Valley and Soan Valley. And the Middle Paleolithic age period, it prevailed between 1 lakh BC to 40,000 BC. Most of the features of this age are similar to the lower Paleolithic period. So, the features of the Middle Paleolithic age period and the Paleolithic period are the same. The evidence of using fire was first in this period only. So, Paleolithic rather than the Paleolithic period, the middle Paleolithic period people, they know how to use fire. The tools for hunting changed from axes to using flakes. So, they have modernized their system of implements through using flakes instead of axes, and they were more pointed and sharp in appearance. So, instead of axes they began to use flakes. They were very lighter, thinner, smaller in size compared to that of Paleolithic age. And some of the important and the earliest middle Paleolithic sites are Tungabhadra River Valley and Luni Valley. And then coming to the last division of the Paleolithic period, Upper Paleolithic period. So, it was from 40,000 BC and 10,000 BC. This period saw the emergence of the Homo sapiens. So, we all know that the biological name of man is Homo sapiens. So, the culture of this first man appeared during this period, Upper Paleolithic period. The culture of this period is called the Osteodonto-Keratic culture. So, this is a different type of culture that prevailed in Africa forest and which had tools made of bones, teeth and horns. This also included the fishing tools rather than just hunting tools. So, we should differentiate and study the lower Paleolithic, the middle Paleolithic and the upper Paleolithic. So, man has evolved some sorts of lifestyles from middle Paleolithic to upper Paleolithic period, and they used some flakes instead of axes, and they used fishing tools rather than the tools used for hunting. So, some occupations also developed, some tools have also been developed during the upper Paleolithic period. And the paintings in Bhimbetka rock shelters are famous from this period. It is located in Bhimbetka rock shelters located in Madhya Pradesh, and some of the important and earliest sites of the upper Paleolithic period are Belan, San, Chota Nagpur Plateau, Maharashtra and Orissa. These are the examples of upper Paleolithic period in India. And next, coming to the Mesolithic period. So, Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period and Neolithic period. So, Paleolithic period consists of three types that we have already seen. Now, Mesolithic period, it existed between 10,000 BC to 8,000 BC, and this period also is also a part of the Stone Age, and hunting and food gathering continued in this period, and domestication of animals was seen for the first time. So, in Paleolithic period there were not domestication of animals, only the people hunted and ate the flesh of the animals, and now the Mesolithic period witnessed the domestication of animals. So, man has changed from Mesolithic period to Neolithic period, and this period last period of the Stone Age, and this period was the beginning of the agriculture in India. First time agriculture prevailed during this period only, and the lifestyle of humans also changed from nomadic to a settled one. During this period the man began to have a settled life rather than the past cultures in India. And these people had common right over the property and made circular houses, mud and reed. They began to make houses in circular shape with reed and mud. And they were the food producers also, like ragi, horse gram, cotton, rice, wheat and barley, and they were produced by man. And they were some important prominent crops of this period also. And they also interested in art and pottery as well. The tools made of bones and stones were present for farming, and this was also the start of using cloths to cover the human body. And intentional disposal of dead started in this period. So, I have already mentioned that the burial system, there are different types of burial system in India, and the burial system started during the Neolithic period only. And some of the important and earliest Neolithic sites in India are Megrar, Imamgan, Kullar, Barsahom, Gufkal, Chirand and Utnur. And Chalcolithic period, it starts from 4000 BC to 1500 BC, and it is the first metal age in India. So Chalcolithic period, we have seen about the Paleolithic period, Mesolithic period, Neolithic period, Chalcolithic period. So this is the first metal age in India, and it is a part of bronze and copper age. So Chalcolithic period has been otherwise known as bronze and copper age. The tools of this period were very low grade metals, not full fledged metals, very low grade metals used by the people, and it was mainly famous for farming communities. So the people who know farming, they used metals for farming purposes, and hunting was still an occupation in addition to fishing and farming. So during the Paleolithic period only hunting was there, and during the Mesolithic and Neolithic period fishing was there, and now farming, Chalcolithic. So man has evolved various styles of living through the ages. Animals including sheep, buffalo, goats, cattle and pigs serve as food to these people. So instead of eating the raw fruits, raw flesh of the means animals, and now buffalo, goats, cattle and pigs also served to these people. The rice cropping pattern and cotton farming developed during this period. So some of the main crops were barley and wheat, lentil, bajra, jowar, ragi, millets, green pea, green and black gram. So these are the crops used by the people, or food produced by the people of Chalcolithic period. So during the Chalcolithic period houses were rectangular. So during the Neolithic period we have seen houses were circular in shape. They used reed and mud for making houses, and now in Chalcolithic period houses were rectangular in shape and were made of mud and cow dung. Black and red pottery were prominent during this time, and humans were buried under the house with their ornaments. The people have been, this is a type of burial, another type of burial system during the Chalcolithic period. The people were buried under their own houses and with some ornaments they have been used during their lifetime. These people were colonizers and settled near hills and rivers mostly. The Harappan culture was a part of this period. Harappan culture belonged to the Chalcolithic period. Most of the important and earliest Chalcolithic periods are, we have traced some Chalcolithic sites like Brahmagiri, Navada Toli, Chiran, Maishadal and more in different regions of the country. So the last age of the prehistoric cultures is the Iron Age. It existed between 1500 BC to 600 BC. And during this period the painted grey ware culture prevailed, and the northern black polished ware were the most important, most prominent culture of this period. So the people, they used black polished ware for the domestic purposes, and painted grey ware culture also prevailed. And they were the realms of this period and gave to rise to the kingdom, 16 important kingdoms in India. So the 16 important kingdoms, first kingdoms, it was formed by the Aryan people, and 16 Mahajanapadas are 16 kingdoms. The smelting of iron to make tools and weapons marks the start of this period, and this was the start of civilization. So the real civilization began only during this period, that is Iron Age, only after the coming of the Aryans or Vedic people and the emergence of states in the country. And ochre color pottery and worship of statues began this period. The cult worship, worship of God, it prevailed during the Iron Age period only. And the idea of a white painting called aharbanas is from this period as well. The idea of using ceramic to make pots began here, and the religion division like Jainism and Buddhism comes from the Iron Age. So the beginning of the civilization and the beginning of religion and all came from this Iron Age only. The first civilization on the banks of the river Ganga after the Indus Valley was by Mahajanapadas. So after the Indus Valley civilization, the next civilization started by the Mahajanapadas, 16 Mahajanapadas or 16 kingdom in the country. And this period ended with the rise of the important Mahajanapadas can be divided, classified as Angas, Kannauj, Avanti, Kosala, etc. This period also ended with the rise of the Mauryan Empire And some of the important Iron Age sites in India are Malhar, Dadupar, Rajanala Katila, Lahudeva, Kosambi, Jusi, Allahabad. So these are the Iron Age sites in India that prevailed during the prehistoric cultures in India. Within this we have finished the prehistoric cultures in India that prevailed during the history before writing. So how the prehistoric cultures found during the cultures that writing was not known to the people of India. And in next class we can see about the civilizations or the empire, how empires established in India and how the big kingdoms they had a control over the vast majority of the people in India. So thank you.